Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went there? Or struggled to remember a familiar name, only for it to come back hours later? Maybe conversations feel harder to follow than they used to. You misplace your glasses more often. You lose your train of thought in the middle of a sentence. And even though your doctor says you're healthy, you can't help wondering, is something wrong with my brain? For many adults over 50, these experiences can be unsettling because nobody talks about them. People often assume that feeling mentally slower is just part of getting older. But what if that's not the whole story? What if your brain isn't actually failing? What if it's simply working under conditions that make it harder to perform the way it used to? Today, we're going to explore why your brain may feel slower after 50, even if you're healthy, and why many of these changes are more common and more manageable than you might think. You're not imagining it. If your mind doesn't feel as quick as it once did, you're not imagining things. Many adults over 50 notice subtle changes. They may need more time to recall information. They may struggle to multitask. Learning new technology might feel more frustrating. Words don't come as quickly, and concentrating for long periods can become exhausting. These changes can feel alarming because they happen gradually. You still remember important events. You still recognize loved ones. You're functioning normally, but something feels different. And that difference often creates anxiety. People begin asking themselves, am I losing my memory? Is this dementia? Should I be worried? The truth is that not every change in thinking means something serious. In fact, a healthy brain after 50 doesn't always work slower because it's damaged. Sometimes it's simply processing information differently, and understanding that difference can bring enormous relief. Your brain processes information more carefully. Think about your younger years. Your brain was constantly absorbing new experiences. Life moved fast. Information came quickly. You often relied on speed. But as we age, the brain becomes less focused on speed and more focused on accuracy. Researchers have found that healthy older adults often use more areas of the brain when solving problems. Instead of taking shortcuts, the brain recruits additional pathways. It's almost like taking a scenic route instead of a highway. You still reach your destination. It just takes a little longer. That doesn't mean you're becoming unintelligent. It means your brain is prioritizing depth over speed. Many people mistake slower recall for memory loss. But sometimes the information is still there. It simply takes longer to retrieve. And that's an important distinction, because forgetting where you put your keys occasionally is different from forgetting what keys are used for. One is common, the other requires medical attention. Stress changes the way your brain functions. One of the biggest reasons the brain feels slower after 50 has nothing to do with age itself. It's stress, and many people underestimate how powerful stress can be. Even if you don't feel anxious, your brain may still be carrying years of accumulated pressure. Financial concerns, family responsibilities, caring for aging parents, health worries, retirement uncertainty, loss of loved ones. These burdens affect the brain. Stress hormones can interfere with attention and memory. You may find yourself reading the same paragraph twice, or forgetting what someone just told you, not because you're losing your mind, but because your brain is busy managing stress in the background. It's hard to think clearly when your nervous system is constantly on alert. And unfortunately, many adults over 50 have spent decades living under pressure without realizing how much it affects mental performance. Poor sleep makes the brain feel older. Another hidden reason behind mental sluggishness is sleep. Many adults assume they sleep enough, but quantity isn't always the problem. Quality matters even more. As we age, sleep patterns naturally change. People wake up more frequently during the night. Deep sleep becomes shorter, and many don't realize they're getting less restorative sleep than before. During sleep, the brain performs important housekeeping tasks. It organizes memories, removes waste products, repairs, and resets important systems. Without quality sleep, the brain struggles. You wake up feeling foggy. Simple tasks require more effort. concentration biexesa can feel dormir, and memory feels unreliable. What's surprising is that even small sleep disruptions repeated over months or years can create the impression that your brain is aging faster than it actually is. Sometimes improving sleep quality can make a remarkable difference in mental clarity. Your brain needs more recovery than it used to. When you were younger, your brain could often handle constant stimulation. Long work days, little sleep, stress, multitasking, noise, screens. You bounced back quickly. But after 50, recovery becomes more important. The brain still works beautifully. It just doesn't appreciate overload. Modern life constantly demands attention. Notifications, news, social media, emails, television, worry. Information never stops. And an overloaded brain eventually slows down, not because it's broken, but because it's exhausted. Many people describe this as brain fog. They say, "My head feels heavy. I can't think as clearly anymore. I'm slower than I used to be." Often, what they're experiencing isn't decline. It's fatigue. And tired brains perform poorly at any age. Inflammation can affect mental sharpness. Another overlooked factor is inflammation. Even healthy individuals may experience low-grade inflammation that affects the brain. Poor diet, lack of movement, stress, poor sleep. All of these contribute. Inflammation doesn't always cause obvious symptoms, but it can affect concentration, mood, and memory. Many people notice they feel mentally sharper after improving their lifestyle, not because they reversed aging, but because they reduced some of the hidden factors slowing their brain down. Small changes matter. Daily walks, balanced meals, staying hydrated, reducing highly processed foods, managing stress. These habits support brain function far more than most people realize. Multitasking becomes more expensive. Here's something nobody tells you. The brain becomes less efficient at switching between tasks with age. And that's perfectly normal. Yet modern life expects constant multitasking. Texting while watching television, checking emails while eating, listening while scrolling, jumping from one task to another. Every switch consumes mental energy. And after 50, that energy becomes more valuable. This is why many adults perform better when they focus on one thing at a time. It's not a weakness, it's wisdom. The brain thrives when it can concentrate without interruption. Sometimes slowing down actually improves performance. Physical activity helps your brain more than you think. Many people separate brain health from body health, but they are deeply connected. Movement increases blood flow. Exercise supports memory. Physical activity improves mood and sleep. It even encourages the growth of new connections inside the brain. You don't need intense workouts. You don't need to become an athlete. Simpler habits can help. Walking, gardening, swimming, stretching, dancing, anything that gets the body moving. Some studies suggest that regular movement is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining cognitive function later in life. Not because it prevents aging entirely, but because it helps the brain work at its best. Loneliness can slow the mind. The brain needs connection. Conversations challenge memory. Relationships stimulate emotions. Social interactions keep the mind active. But many adults over 50 experience increasing isolation. Children move away. Friends become busy. Retirement changes routines. Loved ones pass away. And loneliness affects more than emotions. It affects cognition too. People often underestimate how mentally stimulating ordinary conversations are. Talking, laughing, sharing stories, learning from others. These experiences nourish the brain. Connection is not a luxury. It's part of healthy aging. Fear makes everything feel worse. Plötsligt så mår man lätt sen när det för som jag vet över. Jag tar då sen tabon på na parse valin. You be anthropologisant. Antel boys price c'est semi-patilant. Souffre, buck, ex-familit. Once people begin worrying about their memory, They become hyper-aware of every mistake. Every forgotten name feels dangerous. Every misplaced item becomes evident. Every moment of distraction sparks anxiety, and anxiety itself interferes with memory. The more afraid you become, the harder it is to think clearly. It's a cycle. Stress causes forgetfulness. Forgetfulness causes fear. Fear increases stress. And the cycle continues. Sometimes what people need most isn't panic, it's perspective. Because healthy brains occasionally forget things. At 25, at 45, at 75, nobody remembers everything. Perfection isn't the goal. Function is. When should you talk to a doctor? Most occasional forgetfulness is common, but certain changes deserve medical attention. If memory problems interfere with daily life, if loved ones notice major personality changes, if familiar tasks suddenly become confusing, if you frequently get lost in familiar places, or if symptoms are worsening rapidly, it's important to speak with a healthcare professional. Early evaluation matters. Many conditions that affect memory are treatable, and sometimes problems that appear to be cognitive decline are actually related to sleep issues, vitamin deficiencies, medication side effects, depression, or stress. Seeking help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. If your brain feels slower after 50, you're not alone, and you're not automatically losing your mind. A slower thought, a forgotten name, a temporary brain fog. These experiences are incredibly common. Being healthy doesn't mean you'll feel exactly the way you did at 25, but healthy aging doesn't mean giving up on mental sharpness either. Your brain still has remarkable potential. It still adapts. It still learns. It still grows. Sometimes what it needs most isn't fear. It's rest, movement, connection, better sleep, less stress, and patience. Because growing older doesn't mean your mind stops working. It simply means you're the same care, compassion you've spent a lifetime giving to everyone else. And perhaps the most important thing to remember is this. Just because your brain feels slower doesn't mean it's failing. It may simply be asking you to slow down and take care of it in ways you never had to before.
Before we conclude, a quick reminder. The information shared in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this channel. Your health is your most valuable asset. Treat it with the professional care it deserves.